What is up, everyone? Welcome to the official episode 1 of the Coach Buff podcast. It is I, Unruly, here alongside my boy Evil. Evil, how are you doing today, man?
Howdy, friends. I'm all right, man. We're actually 3 for 3 on the day, so I am not Sag at all this time around. If you saw episode 1, we started off very Sag. We're not Sag. We're actually amped. We're ready to cook.
Yeah, the pilot episode, although we don't have soaps today,
Yeah,
yeah,
rough.
definitely was we were a little sedge. But Mr. 3 for 3 over here, holy shit, making me look like a terrible fucking coach. Holy. Let's start with 3 for 3, man. All right, like how we started off with the previous episode, we're going to talk about our teams in competitive Apex Legends. But first, we're going to introduce ourselves, okay? Because the first episode, apparently, we didn't share ourselves enough. So, my name is Unruly. Both Evil and I are professional Apex Legends coaches. I myself was once a player turned coach because, I became washed mechanically, but my brain for the game grew. Previously, I was with Six Figures Apex Legends, who placed 54th in Challenger Circuit within a month. So that's my claim to fame. Turning three guys who've never played together and take a run at the Pro League qualifiers for Split 2. So that's where I come in. I also coach Youth Apex Legends as well. And we're running out of banner currently. So if I could teach
Hell yeah.
if I could teach 12-year-olds how to play Apex Legends and kill Apex Predator players, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot as a coach.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's me. That's my lore. Evil, let them know about your prowess, because
Um,
you're
so
the big dog in the call. Let's be real here.
Master Shifu with the stick, brother.
Master
Um,
Shifu with the
so
stick.
man, I guess we'll explain from the start, man. Dove into music, did that for a long time. On my off time from music, started getting into Apex. As you know, you can't just get into Apex and hit Masters
Mm-mm.
once and be like, I'm gonna settle with this. So like started just sweating it out, joined a comp team, used to IGL back in OG Wraith meta, turned into a Gibby IGL whenever Gibby Valk meta came about. I got recruited by a couple orgs, played during my time for a while. Ended up at Nays Nation. Found some stability there as far as the staff and stuff like that to be supportive of me, getting more into casting, getting more into the scene developing. From there, got into coaching, and it's just been up. I've been super blessed with the people I've had around me, as far as people like yourself and other coaches like Soaps and players just being absolutely fundamentally sound whenever they come to me, so I don't have to spend time on that. It's just really like reshaping them and turning the smooth brain to a rough brain, you know. A lot of the teams I've had in the past couple of years have started off as year oneers, ended up as top 50, like what you were talking about with Six Figures, at the very least. I'm kind of known as the day one coach to turn day one teams into day two teams, and if you're a day two team, I get you into that day three. Um, I'm an over the hill coach. I push people past what they're comfortable with, stuff like that. Very creative. I'm known for my counter metas in the scene. I don't really have a large claim to fame as far as my big accomplishments for myself. My biggest accomplishment was that I got to work with Ink W for a brief amount of time, who was at the time Lino Witness's pro coach, was kind of a mentor for me for the time I was around him. So super grateful for that guy. Taught me a ton about what I know about the game, about challenging game crafting and game theories. So without him, definitely not who I am today.
Yeah, to piggyback off of you from my experience, I was a competitive player back in the Kings Canyon, back with GLL scrims. I didn't do Q snipe scrims. I knew what they were, but I'm not that OG. Came up as an anchor player, then I was an IGL during the Seer Valk Horizon meta, so that's what I did there. And I GL'd on Edge for a while. I was a big fan of how the previous Team Liquid played the game. Not the current Team Liquid, but the previous Team
All right.
Liquid. Of course, being a huge TSM fan, of course. Um, I shadowed under Furia Sea Lion. I was part of the Raptor Pack, so if you know, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
Raptor Pack is the his like subscriber, like his Padawans type beat. I like for our students as my Padawan, so I was his Padawan. Teaching raw team fight mechanics, small analytical work. So I was a little bit underneath Sea Lion. So I like to credit him for my understanding on how team fight mechanics go, and how even if you can't shoot your gun straight, if you work as a cohesive unit as a team in your team fights, it goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Fun, like I teamed with Talmadge back in the day. So those who know, Talmadge is the coach of TSM now since Raven left. Talmadge was my old teammate, and we were part of the Raptor pack, so we kind of grew up together. And he obviously got his flowers, got his shot, and has shined very, very well with TSM. And then my stint with, the six figures thing. So since you wanted to go back a little bit into some lore, I went back into some unruly lore. But
Fair.
yeah, that is us. Soaps will give his introduction. But just know he's a fucking knucklehead.
Yeah. Stokes
Um,
actually is probably one of the most professional coaches that you haven't heard of in the scene. If
he
you if you
is.
if you
He
don't know
is.
him, it's just because you're new to the scene.
I knew him
Honestly.
for a while. He was gonna run my pockets as a player. So he's been around. He's been coaching for a while because I almost had him as a coach back in the day. Um, but yeah, so introductions aside, you guys will get soaps in the next one. Um, we are going to talk about how our teams went today. I'll let you go first because you stuck out with our EU boys longer. I kind of fell asleep on the job because I was up all
All right.
night with my
5
squad.
a.m. is rough, dude. Dude, going
It is
from
so
EEC
brutal. Yeah.
marathon just straight into
Uh huh.
EMEA is so fucked, dude. Like I had to cash out
NA
early on Grand, and I
EEC
felt so bad.
marathon. When you're starting at 1 a.m. and then you got to be up at 6, 7 o'clock for the EMEA. If you have an EMEA team, it's brutal. I
It's
fell asleep on
actually
the
brutal,
job,
bro.
so I'm gonna let you take over because you did everything over there for us. So I'll let you start.
Um, so like I think I had one of my prouder moments today as a coach at the EMEA guys. I think that they actually challenged me today as a coach, and I think that I've had to use an analogy. Talking about my analogy game being on point, I had to use an analogy that I've never had to use ever in my life, and I can't believe it came out of my mouth. Honestly, I had to wash my mouth out with soap after I said it. But man, starting with EMEA at 5 a.m., played solid through the first block. Did great. Got through round one easily. Had a few miscues. Got it corrected. Got it adjusted. Had a little bit of chemistry issues as far as how we're doing things, where we're being assertive, and where our directiveness and our decisiveness is coming from. More importantly,
Oh yeah,
falling into that, we got into round two, and as you know, round two for EMEA is round three for NA. So that's when you start getting your stacked lobbies, and you start getting your lobbies of doom, if you would, which we actually
absolutely.
are presented with tomorrow. Anyways, we got a fairly stout lobby. Faced some adversity, went out 19th and 20th first two games. Just didn't have our brains on, didn't have directiveness, didn't have decisiveness. The way we approached things was entirely too late. Our timing, pacing of things was off. We were making solo swings. It just wasn't ourselves.
Right.
Um, Pulled my inner coach JB out and told my IGL I'm going to put my arm elbow deep up his ass and make him talk like a puppet if he does not start calming. That seemed to have worked. Surprisingly,
It did work. It did
it
work.
got the
Stan,
message
listen.
across. It got the message
Stan got the
across.
point.
And the next two games, we go fifth with 7 kills and I think third with 9 kills, somewhere around that area.
Yeah, bangers. Absolute bangers.
Two absolute consistently banger games, solid spots, played just fundamental Apex the entire way through. So adjustments made. We got it figured out. Pep talk worked. So so proud of those guys. Moving on, we'll talk about Vera's team first because I think the next team actually
Yep.
segues into everything else.
Yep.
So Vera's team first, we actually got a chance to experience some adversity as far as from the coaching panel. I've never had to coach from a 10-minute delay. It's rough. Couldn't really
Very.
talk to the guys, fix anything. I just was kind of victim to circumstances where I'm just having to watch their struggles as they come. Luckily, a lot of the struggles were made by ourselves and they were self-inflicted, so we were able to just fundamentally push through them. Got ourselves into day two fairly easily. Round three was a little bit of a nerve wracker just because we misplayed a situation we really shouldn't have and went out a little early whenever we were already auto qualled. So you're just kind of twiddling your
Yeah.
thumbs, waiting to make sure that your score stands. We knew we were I think we were in like sixth or seventh at the time, maybe a little bit higher than that, maybe in the top five area or right around that striking distance. So we were in a fairly confident point, but still, you don't want to leave it to a chance. You want to be able to put the cherry on top. You want to finish the job. So
Absolutely.
fairly rough ending for those guys. We've got some adjustments to make going into tomorrow. We're gonna kick ass in round four, on it game by game, on it fight by fight, rotation by rotation, take the game incrementally, and own every phase of it. Moving our sub in tomorrow, we've got Verbeard kind of getting called away to go handle some IRL business for round four,
Yep.
so
Yep.
gonna face some adversity, gonna have to overcome some shit. Moon's not an experienced IGL, so May have to put a arm up an ass tomorrow as well. We'll see.
Just might have to. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna let you cover your boys, and then I'll cover the next boys. I think the next boys actually segue into what we're doing today.
Oh yeah, the next boys I'm excited to hear from, especially because I wasn't able to be hands on with them because I had another roster, but definitely got to peep and keep tabs on them. They did great. So for the EMEA boys, those who don't know, if you didn't watch second episode or the first episode, excuse me, I was Evil's trial. Okay, so now we're the duo of that team. Okay, so before,
Yes.
so for lore, I trialed as an analyst, and then we just our coaching styles complemented in our weaknesses. So Evil can be the bad cop, and I could be the good cop, and vice versa in certain things. He's the macro god. Although I teach similar style, but he can put it in your brain pretty easily. Me, I'm more of the team fighting guy. So again, I thank Sea Lion for that one. I could pretty much take 3 cornballs and turn them into a death machine when it comes to 3v3s through strategy, discipline, and coordination. So our Mia boys, I gave them a pep talk before. Unfortunately, I didn't make the jump between EEC's NA playing match point finals or match point format at 1 in the morning and scrimming on Broken Moon at 11. It was brutal. Didn't make that jump. But I gave the boys a pep talk. I like to make sure that our teams have, 3 comfortable spots to land on every day on every map, because contests happen. Entitled Pro League teams are there. You kind of got to respect your seniors at that point. Otherwise, you're contesting. And if you lose a contest, you're down a game. And in formats like ALGS and BLGS and Challengers, one bad game could be a bad day for you. So you got to try to avoid that. You got to be consistent as much as humanly possible.
Consistency is key getting through these 4-game formats, man. One bad game will cost you everything.
It's brutal. 4 games is not a lot of wiggle room. Pros will argue 6 games is not a lot of wiggle room. It's rough. At the end of the day, it's a battle royale. So I gave him a pep talk. I woke up to, the lovely ventriloquist analogy from Evil. And the boys turned around and made it through. I will say I helped with a lot of prep. The EMEA IGL helped IGL, was a substitute for my team IGLing. So, I helped withstand, keep him in the motion. Although getting him to talk is entirely different because Evil has his methods. But yeah, that's what I did with the EMEA team. A lot of pre-EMEA help, especially in the IGL attempt. Definitely didn't have to threaten to, turn him into a puppet, but I helped withstand. For
Man,
my team,
I'm not accepting it this time around, brother.
no,
Sometimes
not.
just gotta
Just use your vocal
arm up
cords,
the ass,
man.
yeah.
Just
We're all
say
good
what
for
you
you.
see. If you want something done, tell them. Damn it.
Yep.
So for my team, truly blessed or level up now. Going into round 1, we weren't quite awake. We weren't even quite awake in our 3v3. We were playing we did a 3v3 going in. We weren't kind of awake in the first half, but then when you get the blood pumping and oxygen to the brain, the smackdown happened. So 3v3s, we were a little slow, then turned it around. And that kind of mirrored into our round 1. It took 2 games. We didn't have contests, but it was kind of like a weird kind of getting our approach to enemy contact going. So we had 2 rough games. In my opinion, not playing the game enough. Because, you got to be proactive versus reactive. So we weren't playing the game enough, in my opinion. Evil knows what I mean by it. If you're not playing the game, something's not happening, You're not moving with purpose. You're not communicating. You're not fighting the teams you need to do this, that, and the other. But then games 3 and 4, excuse me, we dropped absolute bangers. 14 points, 15 points. We didn't win the games because, there's surprisingly enough, we had really quality endings. I'm talking 4 or 5 teams piling on top of each other as the 6th ring is closing. It was some craziness. I wish scrims were like that. But round one of BLGS was happening like that. I was kind of shocked. We didn't win those games, but, we killed the teams we needed to on Edge. We were playing confidently. Our new IGL in Renaissance, she is previously female competitive. So a female pro league player in a sense. Moving into co-ed. The politics behind that is beyond me. But women's comp is on its tail end, and she moved over to co-ed. And I agree with her playstyle when it comes to Edge. So she found her voice, found the confidence to lead my fraggers into those games, and we turned round one around perfectly fine. I was very proud of how it happened. Round two, on the other hand, it was kind of like the same thing with the 3v3s with the round one. It's like we kind of forgot how to play the video game.
Yeah.
We took two weird. We took a weird contest. We took a weird. I think it was a weird macro thing, kind of in a sense. Our first macro mistake, going into today. Round three, going into Broken Moon, or game three, excuse me, going into Broken Moon. Ren crashed before she even hit the ground.
No.
She crashed before hitting the ground, and we were landing hazmat tunnel because the team wanted to contest stallions. So we wanted to try to play our catch-up game from there.
Yeah.
Shoot stallions in the back. Take out a big threat in the
Yeah.
lobby and get some
Hit the
free
heavy hitters
KP
down
off the other team.
immediately.
Try to get ahead of the rebound. But she crashed before even hitting boots on the floor. And then by the time we got to that, we missed the assessment of the situation. The team that contested stallions realized that they fucked around and found out and ran. So the gunfire stopped. We tried to assess the situation. And with the minimal amount of loot that you get from hazmat tunnel, it's enough to third party, but it's not enough to take a straight 3v3. We got caught locking in that situation. Crook let us know about that one for sure. And then going into game four, I had a test of adversity. I didn't like the vibes of the call. I felt like I was forcing conversation, so I just had to lay it down. Like, we got to lock in. We got to put 15 points on the board now because when you're down 3 games, something monumental has to happen. And the cutoff was like 12 at the point, so it's like, okay, we have to put 15 at least on the board in case a team on the cusp has that tiebreaker. And then hopefully, because we absolutely lay an ass beating, we win off of kills or something. So I'm like, 15 points, let's make it happen. And then we started playing the video game. It's crazy what happens when you start playing the game. Points get on the board, comms are flowing, you're absolutely laying the smackdown using your mechanics and team fights. First 3 teams get absolutely slapped. And then we got third partied in Harvester, and we couldn't quite rebound. So it was a little too too late situation. You should never have to go into game 4 hoping for a miracle. Tom Brady might have a million Super Bowl rings, but he didn't do that through luck, and we were shooting for luck at that point. So we bow out.
Just incremental momentum, man. It's like just what you just said. Like they got to pick up those small.
It's consistency.
Rolling,
Consistency is so important, and inconsistency kills. Okay, you can get lucky through playstyle, through challengers, and through BLGS. If you have a top heavy lobby, it's really easy to, especially if you know the playstyle teams. In our instance, those pro league teams will go around and they'll go fragging everywhere. So you play zone, you fight the teams of your caliber, and I use that word loosely because you can be as good as a pro league team, and you just have to prove yourself, going in there. So, but if you're playing zone and letting the fragger heavy teams mop up the lobby, it's free placement points, and then you kill around what you already have in there. It's really easy to progress if you just let the fraggers wipe the lobby and you get the free placement points and take your fights strategically. So a lot of those teams, I was like, if we need to switch from edge to zone, because we both are very edge heavy. Our systems are very edge heavy. We like to get our evos up and take out the weaker teams to the lobby and set ourselves up with a lot of meds, set ourselves up with high evo to really take on the final boss of the game. Versus sitting and farming your evo, dealing with your economy slowly as it goes. It's kind of a little harder in my opinion. Macro and economy wise, for zone teams, unless you're playing like Watson. But that's besides the point. I was okay with changing playstyles just so we can get another set of 4 games and really try again because at the end of the day, when your team's feeling confident and moving and grooving, the snowball effect goes in. Your rounds start flying by. You do that, but when you are on the back foot, it's really hard to bounce back. We just weren't able to bounce back. It was too little, too late for me. And then tomorrow, I'll be around for the EMEA boys, so hopefully we'll see how that goes. But I'm gonna let you take over the superstars that are about to come into this call. So
man.
you introduce the next squad.
I didn't get to coach them today. I got to watch all their games from the stream, so it was another 10-minute coaching situation. I probably could have went in there with them and coached them live. I'm sure they had the resources for me too. But either way it goes, was super supportive of those guys tonight. Super proud of them. Talking about consistency, ball rolling momentum. Two IGLs will do that for you. Yeah.
Oh,
When you double up the IGL spot, when you have two great minds working towards common goals together, it's hard to stop the ball from rolling. It's hard
absolutely.
to not have that consistency. So with much less said, let's let these guys speak for themselves. I introduced the IGL and co-IGL of one, Laser La Cookie, Laser La Cook, and Deadly Seuss, or as I call him, Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss, ladies and gentlemen. Come
Dr.
on in,
Seuss.
fellas. Come on in.
Yo, yo.
How's it going?
How we doing, boys?
All right, friends. Well, we were just covering you guys' day as far as how it went, and since I got to watch it from stream and you guys got to play it, who better to explain your day than the two guys themselves?
Yeah. Agreed.
So, first question is, man, how did you guys feel today? What was it looking like? Is just as far as round one? Take us through pregame thoughts, pregame preparations, just what you guys went through as far as how you prepped for the day.
Alright, for me, it was like kind of simple. Like, I fucking shit in bed yesterday and scrimmed with the team. Like, I actually was fucking ass, like, horrendously. So I had to lock in. I subbed in for a team for match point scrims. We ended up winning in 4 games.
Oh
Ended up
yeah.
getting Kovac that night, breaking a lot of my high records. Then, like, this morning, I just got up, got, like, a good breakfast, went on a nice walk, Came in, like, to the state, like, I know yesterday was a fluke and time to prove it.
Like that.
Love that.
For me, honestly, it was just focusing and locking in. This is my first, right? This is my first tournament not IGLing in a really long time. So I mainly just focused on the fact that like I needed to listen, shoot my gun, and just play to what laser needed. And I just mainly focused on that, watching my VOD back last night, looking what mistakes I made, and that was basically it.
All right, love that for you guys, man. So let's move into to round one. What was the impression of round one? Who'd you guys have? Did you guys feel
Um,
like you were the best team in round one, or what was the
We
impression?
had like teams like Dragons, round one. We had 3 good teams round one. I would say we had realistically like the 4th best team in that lobby and stuff. But
So
round
you
one,
presumably would have had your day cut out for you getting through today. Just seeing that
yeah,
lobby then.
yeah, we had a pretty rough lobby. I'm pretty sure people had harder, but like we definitely didn't have the easiest lobby.
You know, it was nice before because actually I've talked to on board AOFPS. I've talked to him and he sent me a DM before the game started. And he's like, "Good luck today. Hope you do well." And I said, "Right back at you." So it was nice. That's a good team. They did I think what like 14th in Pro League or something. It was a good team. Our lobby is pretty solid, but we just needed to play smart, feel out the lobby, and just play to our game and not change what we do best.
Absolutely.
All right. I've got actually a list of questions for you guys. Talking about the day or round one, I want to hear you guys' approaches and how your approach differs from every round to round with these questions, if you guys don't mind.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So first question for both of you guys. I mean, honestly, I would like to hear your independent perspectives, much less from a co-IGL perspective, Seuss. So as an IGL perspective, how do you plan for your end games?
Hmm.
Going into the drop ship, going through the game, what's the priorities you're looking for, stuff like that.
Um, I'd say just as a team, like focusing on what our priorities are, making sure that we're using what we have as our advantage, and just getting prepared to make the smart rotate as to how we're going to position ourselves to win. Because at the end of the day, winning is what matters. That's how you're going to get the most points. That's how you're going to make match point. That's how you're going to win match point. So really just prioritizing what we do best, getting into those good spots, taking our priorities, recognizing like what we see around us and how we can play off of it, basically.
All right, La Cookie.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like pretty much from from the beginning game, it's just like finding like me and Deli just talking, communicating team words that we think zone's gonna end, and base if we have prior or not, if we're playing zone or edge, right? If we have prior or not. And for like if we're playing edge, the goal is just farm evos, look for an edge fight to get our way in, But for zone, you gotta pay attention to what like fucking shields different teams have, and like what's our biggest threat since we're in zone, you know? Because I feel like a bunch of teams in zone, like especially when they don't know they have zone, teams that don't know have zone and they have zone, they fight unnecessarily, and I hate that the much. So like something like I became aware of is just like not having beacon, but knowing you have zone, just knowing when to chill and not taking unnecessary fights, and knowing what your priorities are if you guys do get pushed and what you're looking to play for next. I would say.
Okay. All right. Really got anything to comment on that, brother?
Yeah, I want to segue. I want to follow up with Laser's comment on you know, when you don't realize or teams that don't realize they have zone and they take those unnecessary fights. Coming from someone who teaches edge, when the edge POI is the next zone and you're not even done looting that thing and you see 4 teams flying in, that's a big indicator that you can't really take those fights that you plan for, because the whole server starts pulling up at your doorstep. So when you're a zone team and you realize that you don't get prio and you have to play edge, and then there's those teams that don't have that same information that you have, I definitely understand that it's very important that even though you want to fight those teams and you really want to mess them up and get your flow going, the lobby will be on your head in no time. So it's definitely an adjustment, and Laser understanding that and learning that is something that's very, very big, regardless of playstyle, because at a moment's notice, the whole server could be on top of your head, and then you could get third party, fourth party, fifth party, whatever. So it's definitely, I give a round of applause for Laser for putting that together and understanding that, because not everyone understands that. Not everyone's people will be like, oh my god, why are you here? Why are you third partying us? Like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm playing the game. The game's supposed to be played, and you just did something dumb. You didn't even realize it, but you did something dumb. So hats off to Laser.
All right. So next question for you guys, from a round 1 perspective. How much would you prioritize your utility as far as rotating for meds, rotating to get your loot up, stuff like that, versus prioritizing zone?
You want to go first, Doug? You want me to go first?
You can go for this one.
Round 1, honestly, since like there's usually only like fucking 14 squads left, is usually just grab loot, look for like easy fights, and make it to the next round. It's that simple.
Just that simple, huh?
It's that like I would, yeah. If I get round 1, just no.
Yeah.
Just no.
Got you, brother. Got you. All right.
You grow up deadly.
I would say the same thing, but at the same time, with there being a small amount of teams live, there's a lot of really easy god spot potential. So taking those quick fights, but as soon as you get to like the round 2, round 3, round 4 area, you can find so many free spots, and you might as well just take those. So I'd say that fighting in
there's a
that.
couple of games today in round 1 we just like AFK because we had zone. I'm like, wow, this is so much fun. There's no one to shoot at because
Mirage game.
not a full lobby. Yeah. I was like evil. This inside out is bowling right now because I can't have no one to shoot at. My ADHD with that, you know.
Lots to do it out of, man. Because like if you int off that high ground and you enter that low ground and try to play inside out of somebody shoving underneath you, it's nothing but good things. And like you get the KP real quick, but just like what you guys were just talking about, all the teams that rotate on your back, all the teams that dive in on you while you're in that low ground fighting, easily throwable space. You're losing your god spot for it. So the Mirage Zone, pretty hard to play inside out of. A lot more team firing.
Yeah,
played.
Yeah. It's like sitting on Mirage with, like fucking 30-30 snipers. Like, hey, 3-2-1 this guy.
Yeah.
Look this, but yeah, just like holding everyone at bay.
Shoot the nuke. Fry that motherfucker. All right. So this is gonna go into that question as well. So whenever you guys are playing zone, how are you maximizing the most out of your utility? How are you getting those peaks off? How are you getting those shots off and being able to like play through the game, getting the end game, getting into late game, and like still have your med count, still be prepared to take these fights, still be prepared to like capitalize on these moments?
Well, one, the meta kind of favors that because fucking the shield meta, you pop a cell, you 50 HP, or syringe 50, like
Right,
it kind of helps that, and the meta helps in that aspect. But to go off of it and stuff, it's just like something you taught me is just like don't peek unless I have my own shield. And like I'm not perfect at doing that because I still peek without it, but I'm like making mental conscious enough of peeking with the arm shield so I don't waste meds and shit, and I can just have meds for in game and stuff. Just like making sure like if we need loot, then we have to take a fight for loot. It's just like understanding what we need and stuff if we have to fight. Like if we have all the meds and like there's a team that like it's gonna be a hard fight, there's no point of taking it. But if we need meds badly, then like this fight we have to take. And just understanding your situation and things you have to do to put yourself in a better position. Like sometimes you just have to fight for loot. Like even though you might have a good spot, sometimes you just need that loot and you have to fight. And also sometimes you just like rotating, going to actual like rate to rotate to like safe to rotate the actual loot and maybe actually eval cash, instead of playing the god spot the earliest, make yourself a little bit more healthier if you're going to be in like a late game situation.
Yeah, I'd say for me, for like how Laser was talking about the shield cell and syringe change being at the 50, peaking not playing a support character has been a little bit different because I mean, for me, I would just kind of ego things, look for the damage, look for the kills, but now it's a bit different because like I either need to be very careful with my meds because those meds have a lot of value, or if we have a lot of meds, I can really be really ballsy with some of the stuff I do because one shield cell for my teammate taking my armor, we're back up. But it's a lot different now because I try to avoid taking that kind of damage, and I need to kind of like play the correct spots where I'm not gonna get singled out as that character in the zone because I mean us getting killed or somebody getting knocked is an easy way for us to be getting inted in Godspot, and obviously you don't want that playing zone. It's like they were talking about before. There's just the little things like finding the angles, looking for the extra little opportunities that to like buff our evos, stuff like that.
I appreciate that answer, man. Next question for you guys, if you guys are free. Really, you got anything to comment before I move on?
No. Coming from like a zone team, I definitely agree with the boys. As an edge team, with the 14 teams in the first round, I do enjoy that because that's less contested Evo harvesters, a lot more crafting, a lot more loot to go around. From a zone perspective, I don't really have too much experience on that, but it is a little bit easier. There's less teams to race for better spots for sure. And to go and tie along with the meta, especially playing double shield characters. Yeah, those cells go a long way because that's 2 cells versus 1 battery. They go a long way. So my Pathfinder, she gets all the batteries because the big boys get the 35 shield cells that we carry around. And it's a lot different. So I definitely agree that poking is a lot, especially when you're in a wealthy shield economy. Poking is a lot more easier, but also on the coin flip, if you don't have a lot or you're not the character blessed with having the double shield bonus, Laser mentioned poking within his own arm shield, Gibby players, the 50 HP gun shield, even if there's bleed through, that's 1 cell versus an entire battery, so you got to be a little conscious with it. On edge, I don't really have to deal with, the 3-2-1 sniper action. It's kind of just butting heads until you get into zone. But when you have your neighbors, the whole neighborhood shooting at one person coming in, it's a little different. But yeah, I definitely agree with the boys. I think they hit it right, nail on the coffin right there.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna move forward. The next question I have from casual players is, what goes in to choosing your POI for BLGS?
Okay, so day one, it's pretty simple. We don't like to take cons unless if we know it's 100% con we're gonna win. We only took, I think, 1 con today, which we won. So that's a W. But for day one, it's a 4-game series. Like a 0-point game just fucking hurts you. Like I've missed day 2 to 2 points that had 1 0-point game. So now that I'm more experienced, now I'm more experienced. I'd rather like take a half a dome loot and con a decent team, and shit. And like I'm confident in my ability to like my macro that I don't need fucking be the healthiest to get us an end game. And I think that's really separates the good IGLs from like the okay IGLs. It's just like if you don't have the loot, if you don't have like the resources, can you still find a way to get into in game to get a couple points, even though you can't win the game?
The adversity we face, 10,000%, man. I agree.
You could go now, Natalie.
It goes along a lot with what Laser said. I really think choosing the POI really just depends on how capable of an IGL you have in your team. Because if you have a really good IGL, you should be able to play from anywhere. Like me and Laser discussed this like a week or 2 ago. We do not care where we land on World's Edge or Stormpoint. We've played those maps for such a long time. We know how it works. We could land Fragment for all we care, and we could have 1 cell and a piece of cheese that's melted to our arm, and we'll make it work.
Yeah.
A map like E District, which is obviously newer, it's a bit different because you don't know the macro, you don't know everything as best you possibly could on like the other 2 maps. So kind of for that map, it's more about comfortability, about where you've played and how you like to rotate. But I'd say the other two maps, it's really just about how capable you are, how long you've done it. Because if you've done it a long time and you have a capable team and a capable IGL, you should be able to do anything from anywhere.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the key to E District, I feel like I found like the most success, something I didn't do before because I was so good at calling zones and like Stone Point and like World's Edge. It's like for round 3 knowledge. I feel like I always play for round 3 knowledge in E District and it always has worked out
I
in most
agree.
cases. And because like I've tried to play from round 2 like I do with Stone Point and LGS when I find myself getting fucked with zone flips or like me rotating into teams. So I don't know how teams are rotating on the map yet because it's still learning it, you know?
Yeah.
To me, this is me to slowing down my game and like playing for the next ring knowledge of like, okay, I think this would be the best spot for in zone in this area or this area, you know, putting us in the best situation, you know, because I feel like IGLs or those teams always are in the mindset they could always win any game, which you should be, right? But in some situations, you gotta realize, okay, we can't win this game. What can we do to maximize the points effectively?
Right. I hear you.
And for me, I feel like to do that on E District, for me personally, is just to play for round 3 console.
Kind of feel like a proud dad. English. Feeling like a proud dad right now because I feel like this is an echo chamber. Some of these things have been said to somebody before almost. I like this. I like what I'm hearing. Anyways, moving on. Seuss, did you get a chance to answer? I'm sorry, man. I was just so happy.
Yeah,
did,
no,
he did,
no,
he
I
did.
did. I talked
Okay,
about
okay.
World's Edge Storm Point.
Just making sure. Man. I was just so overwhelmed by emotions right there. It took me off guard. Anyways, outside the proud dad moments,
So I actually I wanted to build on
yeah,
something
go ahead,
before we
brother.
jump
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So I really like Deadly's approach to, you know, we've been playing World's Edge and Storm Point for what feels World's Edge. It feels like from the beginning of time itself. But World's Edge, Storm Point definitely are the bread and butter maps for competitive. I will argue that even though when it comes to picking a POI, you've been playing it for a while, the zone algorithm changes. So, especially for your zone teams, you know, like now it's like, all right, is 1 and 2 touching? Okay, if so, then it might pull this direction. If it's not, all right, it might center out, or you know, it might continue to go on. The algorithms change despite the fact that you've been playing the maps for a while. So, as a coach and an analyst, that's something that everyone needs to understand. That despite being there for 10 years, except for a couple boxes getting shuffled around in the warehouse. You know, the system changes a little bit.
Yeah.
When it comes to the newer maps, I'm definitely going to piggyback off of Laser. I think some of the best teams can understand and find a lot of success in the newer maps based off of how well they can find a pivot spot. If you're not comfortable or you don't play Ring Guesser before bed 2 hours or 2 hours after you wake up, if you're not on that ring guesser grind, you know, there's going to be some things, some variations that changes within the maps. So you got to play what we call from a pivot spot, where, you know, you kind of either whether it's in the middle of your two ideas of where a zone's going to end, or if it's smack dab in the middle of ring 2. That way, if it does pull, you don't have too far to go versus the other one.
I heavily believe in is pivot play, man. Pivot play from advantageous spots, inside out pivot. You typically have foundational rotations from that. You get all the opportunities to capitalize on KP around you. Pivot play it's fundamental within my philosophy for sure. I love pivot play.
Absolutely, pivot play is a good one. Boys, you want to define the definition of pivot play? Either of you take this one. What's a pivot spot? What's a pivot spot?
For me, as a spot where you could for me, I feel like a pivot spot is like you have more, like you're not forced to do one option. You have multiple options. Like something that you was telling me with the inside out method is like, yeah, we could play zone, but if the team's next to us and they're looking pretty breedable, we could go fuck them. We don't have to hold our guard spot. We could go back.
Did I say that just like that? Did I?
Yeah, that sounds like an evil statement. That sounds like an evil statement. That sounds like an evil statement.
You could play God spot, but the thing with inside out, if a team's looking submissive and breedable, go fuck them. Literally, where your exact words.
That sounds like an evil analogy.
Am I red right now?
Dude, you are tomato. That is definitely an evil analogy right there.
So like for me personally, the inside out method has been definitely a challenge to adapt to like play it out correctly. But I feel like it's worked so well for me because like when I first started playing comp and stuff, I was like, yes. Watch NRG, they play hard edge. I mean, in NRG now, they play from Skywest hard edge. I would do the same thing, you know. Then like when I got more experience, I'm like, okay, edges don't always work. You need to play zone, you know. Then I play nothing but hard zone. So now I can play hard zone or edge, but now I just play in the middle of it, which evil calls inside out.
Yep. Right. So that was a good one. For outside of evil's crazy analogies, mad scientist analogies, a pivot spot is a spot in which that you can play. Like Laser said, either a hard zone or a hard edge, or if there's a team that you can take an advantage from, say you have high ground or so, that you can eliminate them, you know, grief them in a fight or whatever. It's basically a spot that gives you the most amount of options versus if you're playing hard zone and you're not playing from a pivot spot set, you think it's ending exactly on the building you're on and it pulls away. You have very limited options because you are fighting for your final spot in zone, or you have to kill and shoot for KP and maximize the amount of points he's talking about. Versus from a pivot spot where you have a little more leeway, you can get into that end game easier. Or there's a lot more teams, I should say, around you that you can play around to try to maximize KP on the way in, and put points on the board, like coaches like to say. Got to score some points. So definitely good answer outside of Evil's crazy analogies. But yeah, that ends my segue. Go crazy with the rest.
Just to piggyback off that, man, I think that one of the big deals about this is just that if you're playing the pivot spots, I think one thing that's key within that foundation of that is understanding that your pivot spot is either leaning percentage one direction or the other. And from that direction is how your game will play out. If you have a 60-40 split where you feel like you have a very easy foundational rotation to zone to your end games, you know your spot, you have prio to get to that spot, you know you're able to defend that spot from the spot you're playing now, cool. We're right where we want to be as far as our pivot set. If we know we're on the other side of that, we're on the 70-30 side of there's KP all around us, but we're gonna have 30% chance for us to get into this next zone. We're gonna have to fight for this building. We're gonna have to edge this building off and like maybe take a nuke all and slam on the outside of it and just play the edge of the fights and like wiggle our way in as we go. You know, you start losing the statistic variables of like where you can control and what you can enable in the game. So within that, just want to make sure people understand within the pivot spots, it's all about playing that percentage and understanding the percentage of the spots you have to play. Without that, you can be lost in your macro. You can be lost in understanding what fights are important and what fights are, or what fights are just troll to take in the generality of your gameplay.
I have to get back off that real quick.
Yeah, for sure, brother.
Hey, I feel
You're
like
the guest.
Okay. So based off like what you just said and stuff, right? About like the pivot points and stuff, like the 70-30 and stuff, I feel like teams, like I said before, like they need to realize when they're dead on rotate, they just need to play for KP. So many teams that like lose out on opportunities for points because they're trying to go zone when they like realistically they're not going to make it, you know, when they should be playing for KP. I feel like that's another thing people should like kind of like mentally be conscious of is like, are we realistically going to live this, or should we just play for the kill to get the points, you know, we'll get at least a couple points on the board, you know, without a 0 or like a low point game, etc.
Absolutely. On the flip side of that, from a zone perspective to an edge perspective, I like to use the algorithm of, the path of least resistance. Have you ever seen a raindrop go down a windshield, the less dirt or whatever, that water drop will go down. So when it comes to pivot spots for edge teams, or, if you actually do have to fight your way in, you want to find the path of least resistance. So you're third-partying teams, you're mirroring teams on the way out. It's very important that you play the variables that you have. Otherwise, you are going to take the worst amount of fights, easily third-partied, easily going to die. You just have to wager those options. And those things you have to identify. And Laser really does hit that nail on the coffin there. Zone teams, when you're playing for that pivot spot, edge is kind of like... It's not really a pivot spot, but when it pulls one direction versus the other, once you get into your spot, it's that path of least resistance. So it's the same thing either way. But versus pivoting, it's like, okay, well, I have to go in this one direction. How do I go throughout this and bring the most amount of results versus points or survivability?
Totally agree. All right, I'll move forward within the community questions. I think we kind of covered actually a couple of them within that topic alone.
Good job, boys.
The last one that I think is just fresh and raw is after you land in your ship and you've gotten down on the ground your POI, you're not con, presumably, right? What is your biggest priority on rotation? What is the
blue
first
shields,
thing
blue shields, 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 blue shields. Evo. I can't, dude. Before the update, before this recent update, playing out Echo was actually fucking cancer because you would not get no Evo. You would have to go dev or like wrap coastal to get their Evo, or just stall out in like fuck or macro. I'm so glad we get Evos now from Echo, but biggest thing is getting blue as fast as you can off spawn.
Yep.
Especially if you have zone, you need to say fuck loot, get the Evo, and go play your spot.
All
So
right. Deuce?
Yeah. I don't think I could have said it better myself. Just Evo. That's really the only priority. It's just Evo, getting your ring console knowledge, getting your knowledge, and playing off that with the Evo. You can
thing is-
also, based off that, oh yeah, you can go this, you can go, and then
I
I'll
was
speak
gonna
when I say.
I was like on the drop shit too. Like you don't even have to wait to the ground. Look at the fucking map. Look where your pills are. As you flying, if you see a fucking little evo that's not erected yet, fucking ping that on the map so you guys are aware where it's at and shit. You know, you can scout out evo before you even hit the ground to save time.
That and something I used to do a lot, and which I haven't really done it because I don't think Licha does it that much, but I have done it with him a couple times, is recognizing who has Evo and who doesn't have Evo is
Yep.
massive because you either can use that to your advantage of getting better rotates, or you could take a really easy fight on somebody who's really in shambles.
For example, Coastal used to do this to me all the time when Echo would not get fucking like evo. They would have blues. They would sit on grab cannon and like not let us rotate unless
That's
we
exactly what we
out.
did. That's what we did last game. Except it was
Yep.
the opposite. We didn't have the Evo. We played off of Echo having Evo and then rotating towards us, and we killed them.
Yeah.
All right.
That
Well,
was-
we're gonna go back to
that
our
was
regular
quick.
scheduled program.
That was quick.
And I want to bring you guys in on some thoughts about some things we have that me and really want to cover in general tonight. First being your reaction to BLGS 4. I'm sure you guys have taken a look at the leaderboards. Let's try to keep everything within perspective. But with that being said, what's our day one reactions like?
Oblivion did one is like the craziest thing for me.
That's the second time, no? Am I mistaken?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think
Wait,
it's
that's-
two. I think it's two BLGSs in a row that Oblivion, because I think Vosky substituted last week, or last BLGS, and I think it's the same thing day one. I could be wrong. Someone might need to fact check me, but I think it's twice.
No, I think that's
Vosky
right.
and them did get day one last time because that was on our list. That was my surprise was that I thought Vosky would be for sure. Like I thought Vosky was a pretty good sub for them to have.
Yeah,
Kinda
I think Evan's a great player. I agree.
I think for me, it's I mean, and I don't think this comes as much of a surprise as to say this. I think LG round 3 getting eliminated. I mean, they missed the cutoff.
LG.
They missed the
That's a big
cutoff by
one.
like
That's a big one.
they missed the cutoff by like 4 or 5 points, and it's seeming it's getting to the point where the vibes of the team are actually like literally mentally crippling them, and they just cannot do what they want to do. Sweet has a bad day mental. The rest of the team is a bad day mental. Sykes continues his whining. I love Sykes, but I mean, he's acting like a baby.
Man.
It seems like as a team that I mean, especially after this. I mean, come on, BLGS round 3. At least if it was round 4, round 5 makes more sense. But this early as a team who's supposed to be one of the best teams in NA, it's looking like sooner or later they might have to make another change to that team.
Yeah,
That's off to
10,000%,
that answer.
brother.
I would agree with that.
Great
I would
answer.
agree with that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh man, go
No,
ahead.
I was gonna piggyback, but I'll let you cook.
No, man. So I'm just covering round 1 right now, not round 1, but group 1 out of round 3. Just calling out teams that are expected day 2 players at this point. Expected day 2 teams. We've got Zedner's team coming in 19th in their round, and we've got Team Odium, who was a finalist team last time. That's Decay and them. Decay didn't play today. Reese's played instead, and not sure if that was the disconnect there. Reese's popped off as far as KP, but from what I understood, Decay was a big part of that team's success last go around as far as having that extra opinion, having that extra thought process within the team. So possible upsets there, not having your guy with you, Going on to group 2, if you guys have anything to say, feel free to stop me.
I'll say round 1. Round 3, group 1. Even to the last game, TSM, they had 12 points going to the last game, and luckily they won. But they had 12 points going to that last game. If they made a single mistake, they're out. 5-star qualifying by 3 points. They've had a rough experience, but they're still a great enough team to obviously make finals.
We've got our boys in that lobby. We got Munchin Hero and Voltsy in that lobby too. So shout out to those guys pulling it out, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to group 2. Not really just a ton of huge surprises here. Flenstar and them. I'm gonna get fucked up. They got 17th in their lobby. Tough break for those guys. We don't pray on anybody's downfall around here. We want everyone to have their best day showing. So that's rough to see. Moving on to group 3. Not a ton of surprises out of this lobby either. I mean, I guess you could...
wait. The throw out status quo getting day 1 too. That's a big thing.
Oh, did they? Was that round 2 or? They also round 3 team?
That was round 3, but they
that
still
was
went on day
round
1.
3. They were in my lobby. That was round 3.
You're a bit ahead of schedule on that
Oh,
one with
You're ahead
the.
of schedule on that one, brother. Yeah, I think nothing really surprising out of Group 3 in my opinion. If you guys have anything to say about it, I mean, Paul's in
No.
effect was a 9th, ranked team. We had a couple like 200s. This is definitely the softer of the lobbies. I mean, it's got Furia, No Name, and Pure, Durags, the Torkaholics, and Falcons. Hordes in there, Size in there. So you have a bunch of the teams that are around that 50 mark, 40s mark, somewhere in there. So it's probably the lighter of the lobbies of Dooms, if you would, with the pro teams being around us. Moving on to Group 4, we've got Cloud, Non-Stallions, Purple Slushies, and T-Law, FSC in this lobby for our stacked teams. You had Opium and Psycho going out early, and then this is what Laser was just talking about. Status Quo finishing on the day with 17th and 8 points. They just picked up Knives as a coach. This is my pick for sure for CC's, round 1 for worst to first as far as teams that are got day 1. They're going to come up and make semis. I'm picking SQ for mine. Maybe it's busted. Maybe it's cheating doing that. But you don't see teams like this get day 1 very often. Much less like LG and stuff like that within our challenger scene. I mean, honestly, respectfully, I think we've had less surprises out of the challenger teams getting day 1 than we've had out of the pro team.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd agree.
absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
SQ really messed up their whole the OGS finals attempt here. I mean, last week, before 2 weeks ago, they were I think like 23rd, 24th in the leaderboard. They were right on the cusp of being able to play in that final lobby. And then in my round 4, they got knocked out. Round 4 this week, knocked out round 3. They killed any chance they had at making any money and having a chance to play the finals.
Yeah, and the big deal about that is that, like, I mean, shout out to the boy Knobs. Like, Knobs is a great coach, and Knobs was brought in to, push them beyond that and then to get them back on track. So I expect them to come in and just know they're swinging for the fences during CCs. This break we're gonna have through January, getting into the announcement for CCs, those guys are swinging for the fucking fences. So during scrims, my team to watch out for moving forward, definitely gonna be SQ. They're gonna come back with a vengeance, in my opinion. You don't see that kind of performance, much less getting round 4 last time, then coming back and getting day 1 this time in round 3. That's not gonna stand with Knobs. If I know Knobs, he's gonna step up and lead that team. So moving on to Group 5, unless you guys have anything else to say.
We'll piggyback a little bit off of SQ.
Yeah.
I think with Knives coming in now, I know Knives' background because my IGL has come from Knives. A little more zone oriented, so it's kind of I feel like knowing he's zone oriented versus the grind of edge play that SQ comes from, because my Six Figures roster, dating a little bit back into the Unruly lore, we butted heads for Thermal with SQ, so they're a very edge oriented team. I'm bringing in a zone IGL. I feel like there's an adjustment that needs to be made between the two, like getting comfortable with each other. I don't tell you it's an adjustment as a bad thing. I just, the systems, like you got to learn each other's systems,
Yeah,
especially especially when you had multiple coaches, right? So I don't think that SQ is a bad team. They're wonderful. They have placed very well. They've done great things. I think with the addition of Knives, they can only go even further. But I think maybe they're in that adjustment period. Also, it's something to note that the brothers aren't playing together anymore. That was a big staple of SQ, was the brothers playing together. Now you have Panic leading the charge there.
Actually, Panic's not playing with them, so I want to fact check you.
Is he not playing with them anymore?
Yeah, I mean, unless his name is
Is he sub on? Is he a sub on the roster?
No, I mean it's
see him.
Jay.
I seen Panic on motion actually.
Cersei played with them today.
Interesting, because I know Cersei was playing with Snipe down in them.
I did not know that. That is interesting.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know, boys. Thank you. I might have lost my touch a little bit. Good comms, boys. Good comms. So to piggyback even off of that, maybe even there's even less of an original SQ identity there. So maybe they're a little bit on the back foot. But I will say that Evil hits it right on the head there. SQ as a staple, a very challengers, breaking the ice into Pro League type of team. Definitely a surprise to me there. I will piggyback off of Seuss from earlier. I think with Pro League teams being the big surprise is now they're down in the trenches. Let's be real here. There's there's less pro teams versus challengers teams. Now it's kind of a fuck around and find out situation. Now they're in the trenches. They're playing an environment they're not used to. And these teams who we know how each other play. We've been butting heads for Pro League for so long. There's different tactics, there's different structures. You would argue this, that, and the other. Pro League teams are kind of, I feel like a lot of them are looking forward to Japan and practicing against that competition there, and then dealing with the trenches and the warriors of the nitty gritty. They're getting caught off guard. They're getting caught. Things happen. It's a battle royale. And when you're playing an environment that you've been playing in and getting paid for 2-3 years, and then you come down to trenches, it's like now you're in our domain. Now things are getting played a little differently. And seeing teams like LG, Oblivion, and so on, SQ, who's a stable challengers team, those teams kind of fall off. I wouldn't say concerning, but it's definitely a surprise because you expect them to do better. So good comms, boys. I agree with you guys there.
All right, man. We'll move on to Group 5.
Go for it.
We're gonna kind of push this one right here. The only thing, I mean, this is my group right here that we were in today. We had Moist, Weave, Doom, Diggs, Mercs, and then there's us. So it's a fairly stout lobby. We've probably had a little bit more of the 50 to top 10 area, top 20 area that you would see. Had a little more of those hitters in this lobby. Anyways, looking down at it, the important thing in this lobby is that this lobby was decided on a tiebreaker, a three-way
Really?
tiebreaker.
Three-way
tiebreaker.
Three-way.
Yes,
I think
we have BSG, Amen, and 114. They all ended the day with 16 points going into the last game, or not the last, excuse me, going in, or ending the last game with 16 points. BSG won it on the best placement of 4th points, or 4th place and 7 kills. I imagine that was probably within one game. The 10th place team that also won the tiebreaker is going to have 16 points, 9th place with 11 kills, and then 114 is on the outside looking in with a 4th place and 5 kills.
so. They won that. So the 10th place team won that by kills of their best game versus best game of lesser kills, if I understand that.
I would have to go through the games and actually look at the games one by one.
That's close.
Looking at the games one by one, it seems like 114's best game was game 1. They had 4th place with 1 kill,
That would
and
be
that
why.
would be why they didn't do it right there, man. After that, they had 7th place with 0 kills, and 8th place with 2 kills, and BSG popped off with 4th place with 6 kills last game to jump them.
Yep, that would be it. That 4th place with 1 versus 4th place with 6. That's how the system is. They scored
And
more points.
They actually had 6 points for their best game, and 114, men had 7 points in 9th place with 5 kills. This is where your edge play style and just picking up that cape, picking up those opportunities, and getting the for sure points on the board really makes a difference when you're on these fringes.
That's playing the game versus sitting.
Yep.
Just
Sometimes sitting in the zone isn't all it's cracked up to be if you can't score. You can't secure that top 5. All right, so that was interesting in my opinion. That was something I wanted to bring to the table tonight. You guys have any comment on that? I know those teams are fairly unknown, so.
No, I like that. It's good. I think it's
Yeah,
good to
nothing
bring up the
comment.
fact that the tiebreakers.
Surprises out of that lobby would be 99 Problems kind of struggled in there. Not necessarily a highly seeded team, but they're within the top 100, top 75, so to give them their flowers as well. But besides that, yeah, had a couple surprises. Had a couple of the top 100 teams make it in my lobby as well. Or excuse me, outside the top 100. So surprises moving into group 6. This is what we're just all talking about, right? We've got LG and F5. We've got Trev and Sweet. 2 IGLs that shouldn't be here being in this position. 2 players that are far too talented to be in this position, being in this position. And just including the top 75, we got our boy Viking Cap. Not quite cutting it today, only scoring 1 KP to his name. His team not following up much better than that with 0s on the board. So rough day for those guys. Shout out Vike. He'll lock it back in. He'll be fine. But big surprises. 10 seed, 42 seed, F5 Esports, new roster, LG. Rough breaks for those guys today. I don't really have much of a story to tell from them. You guys might actually have more to say about this than me.
Anything, boys, before I go?
Honestly, no, but just really just a surprise, and I think it shows like how it really is like a different element of what they're used to.
Yeah, I think that we kind of touched on it last during the pilot that This is a completely different animal. This is a completely different economy than what these pros are used to playing and what the top of tier one's used to playing.
Yeah, I agree. During the pilot episode, we definitely touched the fact that pros is it's a different environment. Um, the you said F5, right? That team, in my opinion, has been a sleeper challengers team that I've seen rise through BLGS. That does dawn as a surprise to me. That's Destroy's squad, right? Um,
Um, Mysteries, Buddy Trevs, and
Mysteries.
Ferris.
That's the name.
Yeah,
That's the name. Mysteries. That is a That is a team that has
Trevs
surprised
backs.
me and shown their shine in BLGS. I don't know where they came from. Don't really know the origins, but they're someone that I've noticed a lot in my lobbies and seeing them through rounds 3, 4, and 5, and so on. Um, did was it? You say it was a new squad, new variation?
I think the last F5 roster was fairly unknown players, and I think that they just picked up this roster. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. I think that they did it within the last two BLGSs.
I
Yeah,
believe.
this is the roster they've had this BLGS and last BLGS. Before
Yeah,
that,
there
it
you
was
go.
different.
But so mysteries isn't consistent between them, or is it mysteries just upgrading as they go?
I believe Mysteries and Trev and Ferris all played together last BLGS, but I don't know for sure.
I believe they did. I think they made. They might have been in my lobby of round 4. I think
I
I
that's
think
think
we're
I
in
when.
your
think I
lobby round
think
four.
I think they got eliminated round 4 if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
I could
either
take a
round
look.
4 or
Yeah,
semis. Something like
so that team has definitely been around day 2 going into day 3. That's a genuine shocker to me. They're a rising star in my opinion. I'd love to see them go through challengers. In my opinion, teams that are very consistent going in through BLGS who are not pro league teams are probably going to have a field day in challengers. So look out for them. F5 is a surprise for me for sure.
All right, now here we go. Our stars of the day. Let's talk about their group, and we'll let them cover this actually. Seuss, Laser. I'm gonna let you guys walk us through what happened with Group 7 and what the adversity was like in that lobby and how it played out for you guys.
All right. Okay, what happened game 1, Deadly? Holy fuck. You go
Game
first, Deadly.
one.
Yeah.
Game 1 was the
Fourth place with 5
4th best
kills.
5 kills.
Oh,
What map was
yeah,
this?
this is E District. Okay.
PD.
This game was like the stupidest game ever. I feel like because like there's a point of time we went to rotate through a choke, but it was like 5 other teams were like, okay, we just have to AFK and hope they don't all look at us, right? Then surprisingly, none of them look at us. We end up getting our room. We end up clearing off our backside and getting some KP, then making our way into zone for in game. But in the in game, dude, it was a fun in game. It was just rough because of all the catwalls, Gibby ults, and shit like that.
Yeah, I actually had to take over the end game because I
I couldn't
missed a
see.
cat
I couldn't
wall.
see. I couldn't
He
see.
couldn't see. I swung back to the cat wall and I was like, get over here, they're fighting, we got a third. We picked up some kills and then the game ended.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing too. It's just like trusting your teammates too. I know, like, I picked Deli up for a reason. I know he's not an idiot, so if he calls something, I'm gonna trust his gut. You know.
Yep. Which
A
I think I
big
kind of touched on that earlier is like having two IGLs on the same team, man, really has that consistency of being able to trust what you see around the map and trust the plays we're making.
I'd argue
Yeah.
3. I've seen a lot of. I'm a big Proxcause fan. I've seen him trialing a
Yeah,
lot of
I see- I
IGLing.
see-
I literally think that like, don't sleep on Prox when it comes to the macro. I think that you 3 are going to have a really really good time dealing with macro,
No, it's
because
nice. I mean, we've been able
Mhm.
to like discuss things and have like a healthy conversation in the game, and it's really rare that we're dying on rotation to stupid things.
yeah, seeing your 3 names on paper is a big one. A big thing that I had the same instance where it wasn't the IGL taking over, it was one of the fraggers taking over. We had an end game with 6 teams going into, or 5 or 6 teams going into round 6 closing. And because of the visual clutter, we had someone crash and someone on 40 frames. We had a fragger take over the end game because of visual clutter. So hearing Deadly call out that was some crazy I couldn't see shit thing and taking over, that's big props because I watched that firsthand today. Those end games, Gibby ults and catwalls go up, it's over. Computers are
Another
cooking.
thing is, yeah. Another thing is too, just like I feel like most fraggers should be on cat because if you're the fragger of the team, that means you're the best fighter, right?
Right.
And in game, you're fucking fighting, and you should have your person that's the best fighter you can see, you know. So it just makes sense to have your cat call a little bit more in game, obviously. You don't want your cat to fully counterplay your IGL, but you guys want to be on the same page.
Yeah, I give you
Yeah.
your flowers, Seuss. I like that because I witnessed it firsthand. I like that. Good stuff. Keep it going.
Thank you. All right, game 2. Game 2 was a Broken Moon game.
Oh,
this
okay,
game was
okay,
this
okay,
game was
I get it.
interesting. Yeah, because we
So
we,
let
we
this
scared
one-
teams off Terra.
So we end up landing Terraformer, right, and stuff, because like we got kind of bitched out of our POI and stuff. Not gonna lie. Well, we didn't lose a con. It's if we weren't just gonna take a con. So yeah,
Oh,
like,
dude,
we bitched
Josh.
out.
I gotta talk about Josh at the end of this.
Okay, so literally, so we went Terraformer. Our team was supposed to come, but they pushed it out because we got that aura. You feel me? But either way, we end up having zone on us, right? So we got blues. We sat in a spot, right? There's a million teams around us. There's a team on low ground. For whatever reason, they decided to walk up to kill us to start a whole infest.
Yeah, they literally crouch walked up the side of the terraformer little slide area. Crouch walked up, killed Baser. We get killed for it. I get away barely. They chase me. Tripods comes in their back. Pause. Tripods comes around the side, and they kill them, and they die. And I immediately had to ask them if they took their meds today, because not only did they sell our game, they sold theirs.
Yeah, it was actually like the most like usually like I would expect plays like that in scrims, but like that was like I just caught. It was a play I got caught off guard, because like in scrims I'm like, hey, this team might do something stupid to do this, but like it's game day and stuff. Everyone should be fucking locked, unlocked and stuff. Like that team, like objectively should just play low ground and not did what they did. So I'm not even thinking about that. Then like they just punished. They just sweep both our games. Game 2.
Yeah. Game 3 was our World's Edge game. That's when where did we go World's Edge game, Laser?
Dude, that we went launch site. We landed on a
Launch site.
duo. We landed on a duo.
That's when and we actually kind of were a cause of I think why they kind of got eliminated. So a
Yeah.
pretty solid team. What's their name? OS Guri. It's Phoenix Iworth, Sleepola, Puka, and Nelas. I don't know how you say his name, but
that's
yeah,
Nellis. Yes, that's a
Nellis,
South
yeah.
American.
So
That's a South American Pro League team.
we kind of agreed
kind of
their
the reason,
game.
yeah.
And they didn't end up making it. They didn't get through. So I mean, that's a POI we'll be taking tomorrow. But yeah, we landed launch site, and it was honestly our loot was kind of horrible from what I remember. It was like really bad, and we got zone pull right next to us, so we just kept getting sandwiched. And eventually, I mean, so we took it over in tree.
Yeah, we made it to in game that game.
Oh, that was the game where because. We had a really tough rotate from tree. We were stuck in the back building. There was team in the tree choke, team in the tunnel end above the tunnel. So we just like had nowhere to go. We luckily ripped an evac and got through somehow without dying. And Laser called a really good spot for us to stabilize. But then after that, yeah, we had to take some fights. We realistically should have died, but the team sold. We threw above, they jumped on us, we killed them. But that game really was I think that was our hardest game of the day.
Yeah,
that game. We had nothing, and we managed to push through it and get ourselves like a 6-7 point game.
Not gonna lie, that felt like even though we didn't win that game, I felt like as an IGL that felt the most rewarding game because of like how everything played out with that game 30.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So
Making that adjustment.
Okay, game 4. Okay. Let me make this clear. So, I got day 1 from BLGS 1, didn't play the last 2 BLGS because of reasons, okay? So like making day 2 was like my soul needed it. Let me put it that way, okay? Like I needed to see day 2. So coming up to game 4, we're on like around a cutoff. We know we can't take a 0-point game. We know we have to like put some fucking points on the board and shit is like it's 0 die type shit. We land Coastal. Because we're going to go Echo, but we had Oxygen Josh's team.
Oxygen Josh. Every 3 games in a row. Cultivation. We say Cultivation. Oh, they're going Cultivation. We say Fissure Mirage. Oh, we're going to go Fissure Mirage. We say Echo HQ. Oh, we're going to go Echo HQ.
I got to have a talk with Josh, apparently.
Oh, they piss me. I mean, I don't know if that's a POS they go, but
it's
I mean...
It's not. I've never been condemned by once in scrims. Let me make that clear.
Yeah, it was frustrating. But yeah, keep going, Laser.
Yeah, I was saying. So yeah, we end up game 4. Our plan was to go in Echo because no one claimed it, right, and stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. We play from Echo, like that's my POI, I'm like, this is the early chance I have a good game. Then we see a con coming Echo. Now it's like, fuck, did we take the con or did we go a POI is free? And at the time, it was like the last of the drop strip, so we had to go coastal. Luckily, it was free, But coming out of the coastal, the biggest challenge we faced there was we had wipes. We literally got fucked on Evo. The closest Evo was on the other side of Pylon or on the other side of Dev. We had literally no Evo spawn on that quarter of the map. It was actually one of the craziest shits I've ever seen, especially in a BLGS like format and stuff. So that game we talked about, like we really had a good 45-second like discussion, like, hey, did we just AFK here? Did we try to kill Echo? Did we go pylon? Hopefully pylon's not AFKing with their dicks in their hands, you know? It was like, you know, we get a bounce back and forth, but me and Deadly came to a decision, like, let's see if Echo's leaving, you know? Maybe we could go Echo, get their juice. We thought they were leaving, but they didn't. They ended up coming back for man scan, so they didn't see us. We literally, I'm not gonna lie, we ratted fucking the graph cannon. They didn't bug the Pathfinder hitting beacon, and they paid the price. With 30-30 Sentinels long range, they paid the price. Then
And it was a very risky fight too, because we killed them and they got we had no way. I mean, we're not playing Pathfinder. We had no way to clear that space in that time. So it was a very risky fight that we took, because we lose that fight, we don't qual. We take the fight. Prox hits a beautiful nade. I 1v1 the Newcastle, and we just wipe them. None of it. Prox barely even gets downed. They get rinsed.
Yeah, literally hit Prox hit a crazy ass nade into a massive shot. It was like one of the most insane shots I've seen in a minute and stuff. Not gonna lie.
Would
He
really
got-
say don't sleep on procs.
That's
No,
my
I
link
mean,
right there.
yeah, that's our own, bro. But no, Prox is
Hey. I
that's
give the on
Unk?
cards out around here.
That's
I give the on
crazy.
cards out around here. Okay.
he's 27.
All
Okay.
right, well, that's fine. But for the Unk card, he keeps on making the nade massive plays. We might give him one. All right. But we can't give the Unk cards out to anybody. Ask Hero. He's been rejected multiple times.
Yeah,
I
that's
keep
what I'm
going the
saying.
game.
So yeah, so we end up killing fucking that team, right? And like at that point, I just knew we were making day 2. Like that fight set the tone. Like that 100 banger him getting in the first knock just like guaranteed our day 2. Like it didn't, but it did in a way. You know, we had like that feeling and shit. Literally, after we killed that team, I accidentally tabbed out because I'm hitting my death celebrating and shit. And we made day 2 and shit, and accidentally canceled the res them. We go to rotate, right? And stuff. Where the fuck did we rotate that game? We went.
I can explain it, because we went through Pylon, and we were discussing stuff with Evos, because I had purple at that point, you two both had blue. We're going to go up through command. So we go up through that side, and we're getting held out. And this is where I really appreciated a lot, because you showed a lot of respect towards what I'm good at and how I've ITO for a long time. You kind of let me decide where we're going to go. I was like, yo, Laser, this spot up top by command or spiders, like this is a good area we can rotate to, and that's what we did.
It's really funny too. I like said I'm okay with that because that's where I won match point format the night before. It was like the similar zone from that spot.
Yeah, so we rotated through there. That team made a stupid mistake. We capitalized off it, took their space, and then, I mean, after that, we couldn't really do too much, so we had to evac. I made another call to go to a spot, and that's where I think I might have seen one of the largest third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth parties of all time.
Huge wash.
We landed, and
there was, I think, what, Laser? What? Maybe 4 teams, 5 teams, dude?
I can share screen. I can share it real quick. Let me share screen with you guys real quickly.
Okay, yeah. If you're gonna show the screen, you know, it shows the gameplay, and then I think this is a good opportunity to where you show us share us your thoughts on it, and then how about you let Evil and I as coaches, you know, cook a little bit here, you know, get the best of both worlds here.
All right, we go back to just like walk through.
I watched this live.
Okay, so we're playing this spot, right? This is a spot. So right now we're just worried about the backside, make sure no one walks from backside as zone closes. I'm looking down here, seeing if we have kills. There is a team, right now. The Lily's talking about people on the spot pitching them. Right here, this team does the most stupidest shit ever. Look at that. You hear my voice. I'm just shocked. That kid's ass.
We just capitalized off their dumbass mistake.
Yeah, literally they gave up height for free.
And you'll see here in a second why this is the worst meta in the history of Apex Legends, because this team is in the middle of 6 teams and they don't die. You see this right here? They're getting double Gibby ulted. We're shooting at them. There's other teams shooting at them. This team does not die.
I'm needing that. No, I can't. We're dying. Back up. Green shot, yeah.
I think 2 more bubbles and 2 more Newcastle keys go down.
And then they Gibby ulted themselves too, and got Gibby ulted themselves and lived that. Yeah, right here I was worried about like maybe a team just ratting behind us.
And they just keep
like, yeah. You hear Deadly's voice. He's tweaking. Yeah, I think we do, but we think. Now we back up.
And this is where the shit show
This
happens.
looked like this team. I was getting fucked. Zips to it. I was like, okay, we already committed. We already committed to the flight, you know.
I get rinsed.
Now look,
And this
look.
is where they start. There's, mind you, at this point, there's the team behind us, and then there's two teams already fighting down on the right. This team comes in. The other team's already basically dead.
Yeah,
And then there's another team on our back.
yeah.
And at this point,
Yes.
I'm just like, I need to leave. And I just ran away. And it's a good thing I did, because we might not have qualified if I didn't.
So that's the third party. Deadly ratting.
I did not expect them to do this. And then they end up losing the game.
Yeah, they end up losing the game too.
Fucking bad, bro.
That
Yeah,
is
they end up
wild.
losing. They end up losing the game because they focused him instead of we're the team there.
Yep.
But yeah, that game, like that like spot is like it was just so great to be already called the evac, so we're already mid evac, and as we're evacing, it's like I can't see because of the trees, so I can't call a spot, you know. And it's like we just have to commit on that play. So it's like, you know, it was like we made the best out of our situation, I guess, you know.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But that team is like that team shouldn't have been there. That team just dies, but you know, because of the meta, it's just fucking AIDS.
Yeah, that was great.
That was like
Um,
that was round 3, game 4.
What a moment.
Yeah.
What a fucking moment to qual off of.
Yes, dude. Like I was like, Deadly. I think we called. I was like, Deadly, shut up. I need to see it before you talk. I need to see it. I don't need to hear it. I need to see it.
Yeah. But yeah, that
But
was our round.
let me go back to the game that we were talking about. This game that was hard for us since we're like since I'm already on the bod. So right here, let me go back.
Oh, this game really, I think this game really was our momentum to qualing, because the first game, like you talked about, it was the game we got 10 points. It was a great start off. 10 points in the first game. I mean,
Oh yeah, this is lovely off the beginning. Like this is tree.
you're not allowed, by the way.
I'm not. Oh well, I'm fucking not. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, good. So yeah, like my earlier is like actually dog shit, and this is the zone we see. So, yeah.
Go ahead, brother man. Don't treat it like a VOD review.
Yeah. I just want to make sure they have time to see the zone.
Hey, just go to the evac part, because nothing really happens.
Yeah. That's why I'm skipping through that now. So yeah, so we had we were on the other house. We were on the house above, right? But there's a team choke and shit. Like this is later. So they left. We ended up taking the spot. We were trying to kill choke to maybe take their spot because we needed a spot, but like it just wasn't doable. So we just backed up and looked for evac.
This is another great moment explaining how it is good having 3 IGLs. Prox made that call for that evac at the back. I don't think me or Laser really was thinking about it that much.
Don't sleep on Prox. He's definitely IGL'd, and Trial doesn't IGL a lot. So I think you guys are in a great spot with macro for sure.
Yeah, it's really nice just having
right here. So right here, this is the evac place. So we're literally AF Kane. This has been a team. So yeah, right here we kind of get fucked. Well, I kind of get fucked. I don't know where they're at. So I'm trying to climb up to see where they're at because I know they're on the right, and I'm just having issues climbing because the game. Then I see 2 of them.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, hello there.
So we already talked before this about going to like the spot. Our spot we already had in plans. We just wall to the spot instantly because we know that if you don't move there, we're just gonna probably die. So right here we're just chilling. Right here, this is where they jump on us. So we're
this is where they throw their game. they just wait and we die. That was really a big momentum shift for us because if
Then,
we
like,
lost
right
that
here-
fight, it would have been really
Oh
hard.
yeah, right here too. Like we just chilled. Right here we walk, cause we walk up here. We look to go third this. We look to go third this. Yeah, Deadly said that. Yeah, right here I was like, if we just right here, Prox dying is kind of bad. Cause my thought process is we play a spot there. Yeah, that spot like this spot right here. We just focus behind us and clear it backs out. Because there's 2 teams on them. It's not like we go and get focused when there's two teams. So we're just like kind of AFKing. Oh, yeah, right here. Okay, let me show you. Right here, we're talking about playing a spot on like the ping and stuff, like wall into it and stuff. And they take it. So we're just seeing what's going on. So right now we're just chilling right now. So we walled towards them and we played underneath them. I bubbled right here. Like I did not like how I don't know. I just felt like we're like suffocating. I literally hit him as he died.
I love you, man.
Then like right here was when it placed
And
the
this is
wall.
where you can see animation. His Newcastle wall bugged, and he couldn't place it because the lifeline ult.
Yeah. It's weird. Newcastle's been super buggy here recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so while we take the moment here, let's talk about what you mean by cycling utility. For viewers who wouldn't know what the current meta is and what we mean by cycling utility, since you died to a utility bug, why don't you explain to us what cycling utility means?
Yeah. Cycling utility is, for example, let's say since we're playing this meta, Gibby and fucking Castle, right? If we're in a spot and we have a million teams looking at us, we literally don't die because we have a Newcastle ult, and we literally have a permanent shield between a Newcastle tag and a Gibby bubble, so we always have a shield at like any second if we time it right. So that's why we say cycling UTL is making sure that we always have a shield up just in case, we have teams looking at us and we can like stall out,
That
That's
and
why
as
I
well
mean
as
by cycling
Catwall if you're
shield.
playing Cat.
Yes, in Catwall.
Yeah, so when you mean by cycling utility, as in okay, well, if we're taking X amount of damage, I could Newcastle Q. If we're gonna be here for a permanent amount of time, you will call for that cat or the Newcastle wall. And then if a team Gibby ults and you don't really have a good spot to sit at, you want to hit that bubble. So that's what they mean by cycling utility there. It can also be confused with grenades and using Gibby ult as utility. I know a lot of teams and a lot of players like to call utility for grenades and the Gibby ult. So that's something I wanted to clarify with the the average viewer, because you made that call and that doesn't mean not everyone knows what that means. So good definition. Good definition.
Then like right here, Deadly just does his thing and like he tries to rat it out. Yeah,
I get pissed here. I get Newcastle slammed in the middle of the open.
yeah, right here, he's just like trying to play for like another placement point and stuff, and this is literally what happens. I'm back right here. Dude, it's just unlucky. It wasn't even on him. It was through a wall. He got pushed back through a wall.
No, the slam, the castle
Yeah.
quick
Through the
slam.
wall,
That's tough.
Through the wall and everything.
It
Yeah,
will
that
do
was-
that. It will do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I thought it was a little bit farther back. I didn't realize it was that close. So I seen after that, like till I seen
That
right here.
really kind of sums up though our round 4 experience. It wasn't not round 4, round 3 experience. It was not easy. It was not
definitely
sunshine
wasn't
and
easy.
rainbows. It wasn't like we won our first game or our second game and we were auto qualled. It was like the nitty gritty. It was like we got to be consistent. We're not winning these games, so let's get this placement, let's get this KP, and we just got to fight through this. We got to win, we qual, we don't. But that's not what happened. We didn't have any big games. We had those small consistent games that can bring you to the top.
Consistency is most definitely key. We appreciate you breaking down the VOD, boys. Definitely for sure. So you were able to take advantage of a team leaving high ground extremely early. I believe it was a minute and a half almost.
Yeah, it was like
just
it shocked me too.
Exactly.
Like the coach in me was like, okay, well, like we're not castle queuing to walk up on this team, but then they zip down into the middle of the entire server. What are we doing here, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
That's why when I
So
seen them leave instantly, I just knew like we had to take that high ground spot.
literally just watching them do that a minute and a half early. When the boys mean clearing their back is by making sure that there's no team behind them, you know. So they're turning around and shooting back at them and making sure they die or they kill the team that would theoretically be on their back. That's what they mean by that. So when they see a team who's in a power position on high ground, just absolutely jump and slide down into the middle of the entire server, and take that spot. That was definitely a great adjustment. And then, you know, making that balloon call to land on that spot, and dedicating to the fight. You can't. You're either in or you're out in that situation, especially when laser mentions being in the trees. You can't see much. So relying on someone else's vision to do that is another great call. And then, you know, you guys just broke up that last little bit there. Even though, again, you're not winning games, but being consistently putting points on the board, whether that be wiping teams or, you know, putting yourself in a position via your macro to, you know, get you in a spot where you can get those placement points. Very, very job well done, excuse me, in your round 3. Very good job, boys. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Evil, any closing arguments or questions for the fellas before we try wrapping this one up?
No, man. Before we wrap things up, we just got a couple things to talk about. I want to make it quick, short, and simple to the point because we kind of included the VOD for a little bit longer than what I would like to. So with that being said, we're gonna speed run a couple things. I'm gonna get everyone's thoughts one by one, and we're going to just no rebuttals, no piggybacking. Say your piece, and let's move on. All right, guys.
I
Sounds good.
heard.
All right, brothers. So Newcastle Nerf's coming up in the next 9 days. Do you guys have any wishful thoughts? Christmas wish list for what you want to see Newcastle get nerfed into the dirt to?
As well, having a million HP. I don't know. I just hate the shield meta because I feel like even if you get picks long range, just to get instant res with the shields and stuff. I just want him out the meta, low key.
So back to a
Yeah.
destroyable shield.
Yeah, the admitted destroyable shield, I feel like it'd be a lot more better.
A lot more balance. All right,
Yeah.
Sus?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's same thing with the shield getting nerfed. I really would like to just see him not be in the meta anymore. As much as I love Newcastle for a long time, I think that it's kind of starting to get to the point where it's starting to not be as enjoying to watch. As at the same time it is, but it's starting to kind of wear off to a point of a really bad team can do some really dumb shit and really do well. Like it's a team that should normally be rolling down.
This meta favors stupidity, I would
Yep.
say.
All right, Rule.
I'm a long-standing Newcastle fan. The six-figure staple was with Lifeline and then trickled down into Newcastle before the insane support comp. So I've been a long-standing Newcastle enjoyer myself. I don't want to see him nerfed into the ground. And I say that because a lot of map design can get band-aided with Newcastle. You know, we have a lot of spots on the map that, you know, it's really, really, really hard to play, really hard to, you know, live through. Even if your macro is the best macro on the planet, you know, there's some design flaw in the game. And I think Newcastle also offers a lot to the table when it comes towards, you know, as a support legend in general. So I don't want to see him nerfed in the ground. I would like to see the Q being broken again. I think that was pretty fair, pretty balanced. Although there is some counters to Newcastle now, i.e. Rampart, but that's a different story. So, in my opinion, balance him, bring back that destroyable shield. There's a lot of changes to the sub support characters that I feel is kind of crazy, like getting guaranteed, you know, Moby Beacon, stuff like that. I feel like to go off of stupidity there, you know, that's some stuff that band-aids bad players. But I don't
Yeah.
want to see him nerfed. I don't want to see him nuked. I like a nerf.
Yeah.
I'll appreciate a nerf, but don't nuke the guy.
All right. I mean, I'm gonna keep it short and simple to the point. Um, addition, or excuse me, subtraction by addition. I'm sure you guys have heard addition by subtraction as far as you let people go to develop yourselves and stuff like that. Exact opposite. I think the way you nerf Newcastle, you could leave Newcastle the exact way he is. Give Seer res cancels. Give Maggie's natural Q, her just base Q, bigger radius for the Q support. So double attack has effective radius during these bubble plays. As much as Big Tech does, give Maggie Ball the chance to counter everything and destroy shit in front of it. Give Crypto his chance to be the counter meta, the one legend that counters everything. I mean, he's pretty fucking useless regardless of that. So like, just leave him that. I think if you do all these things, if you just get everybody else to a point where they're able to counter and play around this guy, it's still a viable playstyle to like have a destroyable Q or not destroyable Q whenever you're getting Crypto EMP'd, you know? So like it just comes into that tech recycling, the tech utility usage, and it creates a higher skill gap for that. And I'm okay with that being a nerf, is creating higher skill gaps and creating outplayability around the legend. So I'm not really cool with it being nuked to the ground. If they choose to go that route, which I suspect EA being EA, they probably do change some fundamental parts of a Newcastle that's pretty broken currently. Um, don't know if I love to see that or not, but I would definitely love to see, just as far as what I'm known for doing and what I'm able to do as far as a coach. Give me my counter meta back, man. Let me be able to outplay these motherfuckers and outcoach these motherfuckers. I don't like doing it all in the same meta. I don't like having to share compositions with everybody else. Let me be creative.
I like that one.
So moving forward, and one of the last topics we're gonna cover is the addition of E District into champs rotations and you guys' predictions on how that's going to play out.
I'll go first on this
Um,
one.
good.
I love E District. I think that the map. On first release, I hated it and I thought it was stupid. But as all things really do and happen, with time you become more fond of things. I I really like the map. I think the design was made pretty well, and I think it was designed to be a comp map. More POIs could be added, which would be nice, but I really do think that it allows for a lot of coexisting and a lot of unique experience in rotation and endgame compared to any other map we've seen in Apex. And I really do think that in champs, it's gonna be the most fun set of Apex we're gonna see ever, because we're gonna get to those final zones, and there's genuinely a chance we could see 14, 15 teams alive with some of those POIs. I think it's gonna be a blast. I love it.
To pick, not to like necessarily, I'm just like agreeing with what Deadly said about him hating it in the beginning. I still hate it in this aspect of ranked and pubs. I only like E District comp. Don't get me wrong, I still hate the map unless it's comp. I only enjoy E District on comp. But to base off like my predictions for champs and stuff is, I feel like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like a bunch of teams are gonna be late game because like Deadly coexist. But I think E District is really gonna show who are really the greatest IGLs, because they who could learn macro the fastest, know how to rotate, chill, what are the spots and shit. It's really gonna show who are the greatest, the best IGLs. Because anyone could be good on Warriors Edge at some point after like years of playing it. E District is a new map. People have to learn it, so it's really gonna show the fast learners are.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Rules.
I was same way when it came to E-District off launch. Mind you, also the revival game mode was released with the new map, so we were playing ranked on top of it, learning the new map, and I wasn't really enjoying it too much. I feel like it was very third-party heavy. And then the public version was the Rebirth Island mosh pit of the map. So you were getting third-partied in almost every mode that game was played, so you couldn't really learn it. So I was kind of against E-District. But I do agree, and I've seen a lot of Pro League scrims that map allows for a lot of coexisting, and I can't wait to see these Pro League teams, especially from the APAC region, who definitely do traditionally, coexist more than trying to outfrag each other. There's those teams that, are the outliers, but they traditionally try to play the game really, really tight knit, and I can't wait to see, like, I think in scrims, Pro League scrims, I think I've seen a 14 team zone in the night market or whatever it's called.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was like a 14 team end game with like teams stacked on stacks, stacks on stacks on stacked on top of each other, and it was really who could make the path of least resistance, who could do the better timings, who was there in the power position first. I think right there, I think E District is probably one of the most skill based maps in the game to this day.
Don't disagree whatsoever, man. To keep from being an echo chamber, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I agree with everything you guys said. I think you guys kind of stole all my talking points going last sucks. But just to keep it fresh, North American teams having to coexist is going to tickle my pickle. I'll tell you fucking what, man. I can't wait to see them motherfuckers have to share space together, because they don't want to, man. You know
we
they
don't
don't.
share. We don't share.
Yeah.
Our egos are through the roof. We don't share.
Literally, dude. We were incapable. Last but not least, This is gonna be a little bit of a longer topic, so for sake of keeping it short, we're just going to do one team apiece. Who are you expecting right now to make finals? Surprise teams, not Pro League teams, please. Obviously, not the Pro League teams. Preferably CC teams. Who are you guys seeing coming out of these round 3 groups? They're gonna make finals.
Probably fucking Denial team, virtual. I could probably see them in finals. That's like the only CC team I've seen finals besides Dark's team.
All right. The Dark and Virtue. Sush, you got somebody? I think Sush died. Really? You got anybody, brother?
I'm gonna piggyback off of your roster of ZBR. I think Vera and them are a very consistent team. I think they can really do it, and hang out with the Pro League teams. I have high hopes and expectations for them if we're not choosing Pro League teams.
We're not choosing Pro League teams. Obviously, I gotta be biased. We're riding in day 2 with the Mia boys tomorrow in the morning at 5 a.m. sharp. We'll be there bright and early, chirpy with them. Then we've got double down with LZR after that. So I've got to choose my boys to make a finals run, obviously. If I'm choosing anybody outside of that, I'm going to take a moment to just appreciate Diggs. Diggs has coexisted with us the entire time through this lobby. If I have to root for anybody else while we're actively playing, I've got to root for those guys, you know. I don't feel like they've done anything besides be respectful of our space throughout the games. They never had a moment of ending us. We had some jokes going through the lobbies about, you know, we're gonna con you guys, we're gonna take your POI, you guys are gonna, you know, come chow us, take our POI after we auto quad. Just so everybody's aware, both of us are auto quad in these moments. So like we had a little bit of fun back and forth. So I want to root for those guys as well passively. You know, obviously we gotta fucking put them in the dirt when we cross them, but outside of us crossing them, I hope they do the best they possibly can. Would love to see those guys also make a finals appearance and BLGS strong. There's a couple of teams on Fringe that are in the CC scene that I would like to see make it as well. They can make some just, you know, some noise in that Pro League lobby or in that BLGS finals lobby. But I don't feel like it's worth getting into the time into it just because I think they deserve more than what we have to present right now with us trying to close things out. So we'll save that for maybe if we want to do our midweek episode like we were talking about, just, you know, get 20-30 minutes on the books just to talk about things. Might be able to do a little bit of prediction with that and bring some guys in with us. But as far as doing it right now, I don't feel like it'd be fair, so we'll keep it simple to one team. Seuss, you there, big dog?
His he just DM me saying his PC blue screened.
Damn, that's tough. All right.
He cooked too much on the podcast.
He
Get this
cooked way
guy
too much,
out
bro.
of here.
Yeah,
PC
He
was way
cooked.
too hot, bro. Way too hot.
dude, he was cooking too hard.
Yeah, too many hot takes. Too many hot
His
takes.
PC
Not enough
His
fans.
PC's like, alright, bro, it's your bedtime, little bro.
Yeah, it's time for you to get ready for tomorrow. Speaking of that, Laser, you need to get the fuck out of here too, man. Go get you some Wheaties in the morning, get you some water, get you your daily walk in, feel good, feel bright, feel confident about life. We'll be cheering you on tomorrow, big dog. You're my other team that we're gonna see make finals tomorrow. So super proud of you, big dog. Any closing remarks you gotta say for the scene?
You know, lately I've been talking a lot of shit to like haters, but I just like to take a moment to thank you and all my supporters. Actually, I feel like I don't show enough love. I let more negative things get to me than positive. But I also take a chance and like give you your flowers and thank my teammates and anyone who supported me along this journey.
Hell yeah, brother. Well, I'm proud to be in your corner, man. I think you've came a long way, and I think we've talked enough about it. And I think your ego's boosted enough. So with the sake of saving the chat,
Yeah.
our romanticizing, I appreciate you, big dog. You're the goat.
Good stuff,
Appreciate you
Laser.
guys.
All
Before
right.
I go, I'd like to thank you guys for having me and Deadly both on this podcast. So thank
Absolutely,
you for the
brother.
opportunity, and hope you guys have a good rest of your night.
You as
Yes,
well.
sir,
Thank
too,
you.
big dog. All right, really. Another night in the books, man. I ain't got much left to say. I've got to get a lot of prep work done for tomorrow. See who's in our lobbies for EMEA at 5 a.m. I know you've got some things you've got to handle as well, so I'll let you close it out. My last closing remarks is 3 for 3, baby. Suck my fucking cock from the back. If you don't fucking like it, call me, do something about it, or shut the fuck up.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have too much either. I would love to have a 2 for 2 day. So far, NA has not been my cup of tea, but the EMEA boys have, they've been making me proud. So I can't wait to, be up in bright-eyed bushy tail with you in 6 hours to deal with that region. That's gonna be a good one. But yeah, honestly, dude, I see all your flowers coming through. As your duo, as your Padawan, as you will be. It's been a pleasure And yeah, honestly, can't wait to keep this thing going. I hope our EMEA boys the best of luck. I hope your NA boys the best of luck as well. I'll be rooting on through my depression.
Well, brother, I appreciate you being part of the team, man. You're definitely an asset to have, man. Anybody who has you around, support them and be a part of it, they're beyond blessed and beyond lucky. Well, with that being said, I've got nothing left. Nothing but love and respect for everybody. If you're cheering on my downfall, I hope you eat a nice bowl of toenails in the morning, you fucker.
Toenails.
GG's, everybody. Hell yeah.
GG's, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Coach Buff Podcast, Episode 1. The other one, we're going as a pilot, okay? We know there's a couple of I's that weren't dotted and T's not crossed. So this is Episode 1. I hope you guys do truly enjoy it. Thank you so much for supporting all of us coaches and supporting these players throughout the scene, despite the ups and downs of Apex Legends. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.
Peace.